When we walk in the light, we walk with God. With God we'll walk closely, won't lose sight of His love. You are the light, so shine before all, then all can see the good of it all. 'Cause in the light is truth. Open your soul. I can see the light shining down on me. Brings me hope and love forever. Ooh, I can see the light shining down on me. Open open your soul. I can see the light shining down on me, brings me hope and love forever. Ooh, I can see the light shining down on me, brings me hope and love forever. Take the highest road with all you can be, and if it's cloudy, you'll be able to see. Shine on like the sun, and I will be brighter if we join as one. 'Cause in the night is true, pure and beautiful. So open your eyes and open your soul. I can see the light shining down on me, brings me home and love forever. Ooh, I can see the light shining down on me, brings me hope and love forever. I can see the light shining down on me, brings me home and love forever. I can see the light, I can see the light shining down on me, brings me home and love forever, ever, ever, ever. Shining down on me, brings me home and love forever.
Thank you, Freddie. We so love his music. Just beautiful, beautiful. So good morning, everybody. I am Alice Nutter, a practitioner here at Center for Spiritual Living Denver, and I want to welcome you to our live broadcast. We are a loving, expansive, powerful, and prosperous community in the heart of Capitol Hill and right here online. Our primary concern is always for the well-being, support, and growth of our community, and we are so grateful that you have chosen to join us today to watch our service. We plan on being here every week on our virtual platform so that we can encourage and uplift each other and stay connected. We will continue to meet online for the coming weeks through August, and we will keep you updated on future developments. In the meantime, please feel free to share ideas in the chat or by emailing info@csldenver.org, and we will listen. Know too that we are here for you and are so grateful that you have joined us this morning. We will continue to hold each and every one of you in our prayers. As usual, we will be having a virtual fellowship via Zoom after service today. And I've emailed everybody who's joined previously an email this morning with the Zoom invitation. And if you did not receive it or would like to receive it, please email at info@csldenver.org and mention fellowship, and we will send you the Zoom invitation. We would love for you to join us, catch up with each other, and see how we're all doing. So in these changing times, the CSL Denver board would like to extend a helping hand where we can. If any of our congregants are in need of help or support, we are ready to help where we can. Please send an email labeled confidential to info@csldenver.org and let us know how we can be of assistance, and someone will reach out to you. And now back to our music. We will be playing Face of God by Karen Drucker, and thank you so much to her for her generosity for allowing us to use her music during this time. Thank you.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. Tu es l'image de Dieu. I hold you in my heart. Tu es l'image de l'amour. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. Tu sei la luce di Dio. I hold you in my heart. Tu sei il volto dell'amore. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of love. The face of love. I hold you in my heart. You in my heart. You are my family. You are my family. You are the face of love. The face of love. You are the face of love. The face of love. I hold you in my heart. You in my heart. You are my family. You are my family. You are the face of love. The face of love. You are the face of God. The face of God. I hold you in my heart. You in my heart. You are a part of me. A part of me. You are the face of God. The face of God. You are the face of God. Eres la luz de Dios. I hold you in my heart. Eres la cara del amor. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. 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 La luce di Dio. You are the face. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. L'image de Dieu. You are the face. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. The face of God. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. The face of God. You are the face.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Teresa Cardenas, a practitioner here at CSL Denver. And now we're going to move into our invocation. So settle down into your knowingness that you are one with God and that you are the face of God. Just releasing anything that feels stressful or feels at you that you are at unease. And holding that knowing as we move forward this morning, we know that this spirit is blessed, blessing our service, blessing our music, blessing Elzia's talk, as we step into that river of life and know that we are flowing into that universal mind at all times. That we know that anything that is not serving us in our highest and best good is released back into that native nothingness from which it came, and that we are spirit, we are the face of God, and we are one community as one, moving forward with our service this morning that emanates into the community and is so uplifting and universal and full of love. So we just say that we honor our congregation, we honor all those that reach out for prayers this morning. We know that there is a healing taking place on the planet, and we hold that truth. We hold that with our deep heart, knowing that all is unfolding exactly as it needs to. And so it is. And our reading this morning is from Elle Dunbar. She's an Australian researcher and educator. What is Umbuntu? Umbuntu comes from the Zulu proverb and means, I am through other people. In his speech at the Nelson Mandela Memorial Service in 2013, Barack Obama defined Ubuntu as recognition that we are all bound together in ways that are invisible to the eye, that there is a oneness to humanity. Here is one version of a story that captures the essence of Ubuntu told by an anthropologist working in an African village. The story goes something like this. One day, the anthropologist sat the children of the village down in a group and announced they were going to play a game. He had placed a basket of fruit, a beautiful basket of fruit, near a nearby tree and told the children that the aim of the game was to be the first one to get to the basket. The winner would be rewarded with all of the fruit. Once the game started, the children stood up, held hands, and ran together to the tree. They collected the basket and sat down and shared the fruit among themselves. The anthropologist was stunned, and when he asked why they had collected the basket together when they could have won and had all the fruit to themselves, the children replied, Umbuntu, how can we be happy when the others are sad? Umbuntu is a powerful source of inspiration for creatives. When we create in the spirit of oneness, the forces of passion and purpose animate our work because we believe we are contributing to something far greater than ourselves. We become mindful of how our work can impact others. Ultimately, Umbuntu asks us to embody empathy. Empathy is imagination's most powerful companion. When we use our imaginations to step into the lives of others, we can share their experience, and while understanding takes hold, we can do for good, becoming instruments of healing and inspiration. And Ernest Holmes reminds us of this when he says, identify yourself with that one in everyone you meet. Know that everyone you meet is just a little different expression of that one, and meet them as that one, and you will meet yourself in that one. And so it is. And now we are moving into Freddie's music, The Family We Are One.
Motherly love, fatherly
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to CSL Denver, a place, a space, and a face of love. We are a spiritual community applying universal principles to empower and enhance the lives of ourselves and others. And we're so glad that you were here with us today as we start this new series for this month. We are family, the unity of humanity. We are family. And today we start with the idea of the oneness of all. The oneness of all. Now, the main question as we move into this month, looking at the unity and the connectivity of all things, is what is oneness? What exactly does oneness mean? Well, I looked it up in the dictionary, and what it said was this: oneness represents a wholeness, a uniqueness, and a harmony of all things. So in essence, it's a holistic view of the existence of all things with the underlying connectivity that operates interdependently to unify as a one thing. Now, as I was, looking at this definition, I thought about this song that I learned in kindergarten to learn the body parts. And yeah, the hip bones connected to the leg bone, and the leg bones connected to the knee bone. All these independent parts that are connected together to create a wholeness called you, a oneness called you. Now, that is the essence of who we are and what we are, and the entire planet is steeped in that oneness. You see, because if we go back to the foundational story, as some of the sacred texts say, we find ourselves, we find us in the garden. We're created and we're placed in this garden. The Adam and Eve, the representation of the male and female energies and individualities, are placed in the garden. And it says basically that they're at peace and they're at one with the garden, and they knew the names, but more importantly, they understood and knew the nature of everything. The nature of everything. And you see, when we see ourselves moving out of the garden, what that represents is that we lost the idea, the concept of oneness, and we moved into dualism. Now, let's be clear. Dualism is not duality, because duality basically speaks to the idea of the subdivisions or the parts of a thing, right? There's up and down, there's in and out, right? But they're not separate from each other. They're different aspects of the same thing. But when we move into the idea of dualism, now we're talking a whole nother ball game. And that's what happened to take us out of our state of oneness, our realization of oneness. Because in dualism, we have the idea of two separate and opposing things. And out of that concept, out of that understanding or misconception of who and what we really are and where we are, we fall into this combative thing, right? Where we go against each other and everything is not connected, and one is pitted against the other. But in reality, there is no separation. There is no separation. I like to read this because I think it speaks directly to the idea of no separation. It says, divine intelligence, the source of all that is, manifests itself in, through, and as each diverse form and individualization of itself, empowering expression of imagination and creative power. It says we are immersed in this like water, like it's in all around us, like we're in an ocean swimming. And it is inclusive and self-evident of everything that happens. Now, in the Bible, it says it this way. In Ephesians chapter 4, verse 3 through 6, it says this: make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. There is one body, one Spirit, just as you were called to the one hope when you were called to remind or be reminded of this thing: one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God, of all, over all, and through all, in all. Now that's a mouthful, I know. But the point of it is, we live in a mouthful of world. There is so much going on in this world, and we see this diversity, and we see unity in that diversity if we can just stand back from it, because there is one life, one family of life, one family of life. And see, unity does not mean uniformity. This is from our founder, Ernest Holmes, because it says that because we are one thing does not mean we are the same thing, right? My body, your body, there is a unity there. Yet there are individual systems within our body, our endocrine, our circulatory, our respiratory systems, that are independent systems, but they work together to create the unity of life, although they are very diverse. The respiratory system is completely different from the circulatory system. And so what happens is this division, this misunderstanding, this falling out of the garden, if you will, is a division that's all in our mind. It's a matter of interpretation. It's a matter of perception. And so we need to reframe our reference point. And Jesus said this, the master teacher said this: in my Father's house, there are many mansions. If it was not true, I would have told you so. I would have told you that that is the case, but that is not the case. There are many different aspects of the divine. There are many different ways of expression in the mind, the heart, the soul, the spirit of the divine. Because there is one intelligence. There's one intelligence that is underneath, around everything. People normally cut reality into compartments, and so are unable to see the interdependence of all phenomenon. To see one in all and all in one is to break through this great barrier, which narrows one perception of reality. This is by Thich Nhat Hanh, great teacher. And as I was contemplating that idea, I thought about the idea or the concept, or basically, as Thich Nhat Hanh said, the reality that we are no different from the earth. When we look at ourselves biologically and chemically, we are made up of the same substance of the earth. We have oxygen and carbon and hydrogen and nitrogen. I mean, sulfur. I mean, there are trace elements of gold and silver within our own bodies. And there are even those things that we sometimes fear that are radioactive, like radium and uranium. Excuse me. Those are part of who we are. So there is a connectivity even with the planet itself of all these diverse elements. They are within us, making us who we are in that diversity, but standing tall in the oneness. In the oneness. So You know, imagine in your mind's eye a tree. A tree has the roots and the trunk and the branches and the leaves. And they may appear to be different things depending on how you're looking at them, but in essence, it's one thing. It's one thing. You know, I like to share a story. Some of you may know that I am into genealogy research, and I've been going down that path for since like 1992. And I had hit a brick wall, and I had given up on my search for a while, almost 4 years. And I had forgot how to use my tools and everything. And at the beginning of this pandemic, I got an email from a person that said, "Hey, I think we might be related. I'm looking at this chart, and there is some people in common that we have in family, and I'm just trying to figure it out." And I was about to say, "No, I'm taking a break from this. I've been frustrated long enough." But something in the back of my mind, the oneness of it all, said, get in contact. So we got in contact, and we went back and forth, and lo and behold, I was able, with my insight and the person's insight, to get him to meet his father for the very first time, who he never knew, who's 91 years old, almost 91 years old, and to meet his sister and his nieces and nephews. A connectivity of family, although up until that point, 3-4 months ago, we never knew each one existed. But there is a unity of life. There's a family of life that connects us. Now, how do we begin to get back to this understanding of oneness and this ability to see things in totality, in wholeness? Well, the first and foremost thing, and probably the only way to do it, is to use metaphors and similes and parables, because it's very difficult to see things as they are. Alan Watts, a great philosopher and Buddhist teacher, said this. He said, when we look at the world, we have to look at the world in oscillation. We have to oscillate between the microscopic, the scopic, if you will, what is right in front of you, and the telescopic. Because although at the microscopic level, if I look at my body, right, I will be able to see some of these elements. If I take a cell, I'll be able to see some of these elements. We talked about magnesium and carbon and all these different elements and trace elements at the microcosmic level. Now, if I don't oscillate, I will begin to think that is who I am, that is all I am. But when I step back from that, I see myself in totality. And so now that's a different perspective. And if I get stuck there, I will see myself as this human body and not be aware of the elements that are going on inside. But then if I move even further and go to the telescopic, I see myself on planet Earth interconnected and interoperating with all of life. There's an exchange, there's a family, there's a understanding that keeps us moving. And just like all families, you know, sometimes Uncle Charlie comes in and we're like, oh Lord, Uncle Charlie's coming to dinner. We probably should, you know, move some things and hide some things and be careful what we speak, because that's who Uncle Charlie is, right? But that is life. These are the things that make us intricately connected and whole and complete. Now, this whole idea of what is reality, how do we connect with reality, it's not a theory. We're not talking about a theory. Life is real. It is something we have to operate in and be in at all times. And so That's where we want to be. We need to be able to experience life, to experience family, to be together, to realize and understand the oneness of all things. Now, it was said like this: the idea of oneness of God is not a philosophy of absorption or annihilation. We do not become absorbed in the universal self to the loss of our individuality. Quite the opposite. We find ourselves not absorbed, but immersed in a universality, each one being a unique, individual, and different manifestation of that one divine thing, undivided, indivisible, one wholeness. We cannot think of the spirit as static. The spirit is always moving. It's always expressing itself in different ways, in different seasons, in different ways of being. But there's a oneness involved in it. If you were looking at plants and you talk to a botanist or someone that's steeped in agriculture, they said after you plant a seed, it will become very difficult to determine where the soil ends and the plant begins, or where the plant ends and the fruit of that begins. Because there's a oneness, there's a continuation, there's a wholeness that is a metaphor for life. And as we are able to do this oscillation of back and forth and looking at things in different ways, we begin to understand that. And then we can begin to live that and realize that we are one human family. And that is a human family with everything on the planet. Minerals, birds, trees, it's one family. Everything helps and operates and supports one another. Lao Tzu, one of the Taoist philosophers, said this: oneness is apparent throughout the entirety of life. The Tao, or the way, is the creator, the preserver, and the transformer of all existence. The universe is vast and complex system, of which we are just a microscopic part. So again, we see even in different philosophies, different ideas, different religions, we have this oscillation, this micro and macro way of looking at the world, and you can't get a complete understanding of it unless you're operating in that space. And so at this point, the question becomes, how do we move to the road of oneness? The road of oneness. Because that is what we are striving to do, to be interconnected, to love one another, to provide for one another, to support one another, not to be in a dualism where we're trying to pit one thing against the other and not understand that we are mirrors, opposites of each other. So as we look at these points, these 4 points, and you will hear me use these same 4 points in so many different ways, because I think it's the essence of life, the essence of who we are, the essence of relationship and interconnectedness. And they are this: number one, we are perfect, whole, and complete as we are. We don't need to be fixed. We need to awaken to who we are. We need to be conscious of our inner being and our outer being and how that connects together. But we are perfect, whole, and complete just as we are. And to do that, we have to move into that realization of we must renew our mind. We must begin to look at life in this oscillation at different vantage points, different viewpoints, to see the interconnectedness of it, to see the wholeness of it, and to see the diversity of it, which is everything in life. And now once we've taken that step to realize and recognize that we are one, whole, and complete, and that we'll begin this process of renewing of our minds, Now the hard work begins, because we have to be courageous to live from that perspective. We have to look for harmony before we look for discord. We have to look for love before we look for hate. We have to look for connectedness and family. Although all of your life you may not have seen this person or known this person, but they're your family. You embrace them. That takes courage, even if they don't look or act like you. And last but not least, which was implicit in the last thing of being courageous, is you got to take action. You have to be actively involved in life. I've said this before, and I think it's a great statement that says, if you take life casual, you will end up a casualty. I'm going to say that again. If you take life casual, you will end up a casualty. So don't do that. Be courageous. Be inquisitive. Be observant. Look at life in a totality that allows itself to express and speak to you in ways that it may not have ever spoke to you before. And so this week, the call to action, we have this call to action this week that says this: we want you to set an intention to see the oneness in all things. Be inclusive and focus. The idea of that oneness does not mean sameness. We're different, but we're same. It's the dichotomy. It's the duality. It's the dualism. It's a dichotomy of trying to understand the wholeness of it. And then we want to make an effort to observe the world around us and begin to consciously and actively listen and communicate with the source of all things, and become comfortable with being uncomfortable. We're stepping into an unknown world. Most of us don't live this way. So we want to be comfortable with being uncomfortable as we begin to explore the family of all things, the unity and the diversity of all things. So as we do that, let's reflect on the divineness of all. When we look at who we are a reflection and an example, if you will, of the one thing. Just like this picture exhibits, this plant is coming out of the water, and it is of its own, but it is a reflecting back onto the thing itself. We come out of this divineness, and we are a reflection of divineness. And so let us remember that. Let us not forget that. And if we have to take microscopic, telescopic, or scopic views of the world to remind ourselves daily that this is what and who we are, then let's make the effort to do that, because we'll be in a better place, in a better world, and we'll be better ourselves, because we'll have the interdependence between all things and know that God is good. And so our affirmation for today and for this week is: I am one with divine intelligence, empowered by it as a point of creative power. As such, I claim harmony, acceptance, love for all through inclusion of the diversity that delights my life. Let us pray. And so as we take this breath right now that of itself shows the connectedness of all things. Because at this moment now, every living human being on this planet is taking a breath. And every plant on this planet is absorbing the carbon dioxide that we release, and we are inhaling the oxygen that it releases. That symbiotic relationship, that connectedness, that diversity of life of two things that are totally different, yet they depend on each other. And one without the other neither would exist. And that is amplified by the understanding that that same relationship is between us and the divine. That we have a reciprocal connection to God as a emissary of the Most High, reflecting the wisdom and the understanding and the connectedness of all things. That is the state of being in the garden. That is the state of paradise, where we understand and realize and activate and recognize our connection. There's gold and silver in each one of us. And so as we begin to realize that, as we begin to wake up to that, we begin to stand tall as kings and queens that we are, inheritors of this planet, connected to this planet, in a relationship that allows each and every one of us, everything, to elevate to the next level of understanding, the next level of consciousness. And so as one family, one planet, under one God, we just give thanks. We give thanks for this opportunity and this understanding that we are all connected. That there is no life if there's no life together. If we destroy all of the plants, we will take a hiatus from this planet. So let us live our lives in that relationship with everything, with people, with plants, with animals, with minerals, all things. There is a connectivity. And when we find that balance, when we find that understanding, there is a harmony and a rhythm and a vibration that moves and sways and keeps us in conscious, loving harmony with all things. And so it is in that harmony, in that understanding of togetherness and oneness, that I release this prayer into the mind of God, where all things are possible, where all things are created, and all needs to be done is to say be, and it is. And that's what we are expressing right here, right now, that we be one family under God, indivisible, with love and peace for all. And so we say together, and so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Elzia. Beautiful talk. That we are all one, and being comfortable with the uncomfortable. Two big things this week.
Yes.
Thank you. And so we are so grateful for everyone's support of CSL Denver, whether it's in time, treasure, or talent, and especially during this time of change. Whether this is your first time joining us or you're a returning community participant, we want to thank you so much for your continuing financial support of the important work we are striving to provide. Right now, there are many ways you can support Center for Spiritual Living Denver with contributions. With a credit card, you can use your cell phone or device to send a text. Text to 844-454-0918. The phone number is going across the screen. And then type the word give and the dollar amount you would like to offer. For example, if you would like to give $20, you would text give 20. As always, you can go to our website, www.csldenver.org, and there you will see a donate button in the upper right-hand corner. And you can also send checks or money orders to our post office box, which is CSL Denver, P.O. Box 300416, Denver, Colorado 80203. And as we've mentioned before, we are now set up with King Supers and with Amazon Smile, where many of us shop. So if you haven't had a chance to, we would love for you to be able to do that. And CSL Denver has made about, I think, $70 some odd in the past quarter of people shopping at Amazon. So thank you for doing that. And then finally, we are so blessed to have you as a member of our community. Know that showing up and being with us in spirit and in body provides us such a gift, and so much that this too fills our hearts, our souls, and the entire center as we join in community as one. So please repeat with me. Hold your gift in your hand and repeat with me our affirmation that we speak every week. This perfect gift is spirit informed, circulating and blessing all that it touches. Freely I give, and joyously I receive. And so it is. And now back to Freddie with It's All Good.
It's all good, the world we live in. It's all good, even if we forget. I'll stand strong with you beside me. Keep on trying, you and I. It's all good. People are good. Two is better than one. Change is good. We'll work it out together. It's our world. We'll build our dreams together. Keep on trying, you and I. It's all good. It's all good when we're together. It's all good. Two is better than one. We'll stand strong through stormy weather. Keep on trying, you and I, 'cause it's all good. People are good. Two is better than one. Change is good. We'll work it out together. It's our world. Build our dreams together. Keep on trying, you and I, 'cause it's all good. Ready? People are good. Two is better than one. Change is good. We'll work it out together. It's our world. Build our dreams together. Keep on trying, you and I, 'cause it's all good. Oh, people are good. Two is better than one. Change is good. Yeah, we'll work it out together. It's our world. Build our dreams together. Keep on trying, you and I, 'cause it's all good. Yeah.
I love that, Freddie. Thank you so much. It's all good. And it is. It truly is all good. So please know that our practitioners are available for prayer work with you. We would love to pray with you. Their names, our names and phone numbers are on our website at www.csldenver.org. And we do love to pray. So please reach out to us. We do have a couple of prayer requests in this week, knowing the highest and best for Reverend June and for Teresa as sister, who's about to have a baby. So bless them both. And in these changing times, the CSL Denver board would like to extend a helping hand where we can. So if any of our congregants are in need of help or support, we are ready to help where we can. Please send an email labeled confidential to www.cslddenver.org and let us know how we can be of assistance, and someone will reach out to you. And also, as I mentioned earlier, we will be having a virtual fellowship via Zoom right after service today. If you did not receive the email this morning and would like to, or you've not joined us in the past, please send an email to info@cslddenver.org and mention fellowship, and we will be happy to email you the Zoom invitation. And we would love to see you and talk with you and see how everybody is doing. I know we need to do these virtual hugs for now, and we are so excited that down the road that we can actually get to see each other in person and hand out lots of hugs. So that's it for today, and we love you and hope you have a fabulous week. Thank you so much, everyone. We love you.
Family, we are one family. Family, we are one family. Hey, family, we are one family. Family, brotherly love, sisterly love, motherly love, father. so